coming to have a courageous conversation with me. And I just want everyone to know that I have been admiring this person for a long time.
No.
Well, no, really, I've been admiring you for a long time, and I have to tell you, you're someone who I feel has, in many ways, embodied the notion of courageous conversations, being a courageous advocate in many ways. So I'm just going to bear with me. I'm going to read your bio. Mike Shoreman speaks about what he calls finding your four and the importance of shifting the stigma about mental health, which is why you're here. Mike Shoreman is a mental health and accessibility educator, over 2 decades of experience in corporate communication. In 2022, Mike became the first person, which is amazing, with disabilities to cross the 5 Great Lakes, leading to one of the largest youth mental health awareness campaigns in the history of Canada, which is huge. I mean, I think you should be really proud about all of that. You're a writer, you're a best-selling author. You're the subject of Matthew Wagner's feature film, When Hope Breaks Through. What a great film. What a beautiful film, exploring the Canadian mental health crisis. And your work is recognized by the Mood Disorder Society of Canada and a recipient of the 2022 Mental Health Leadership Award. You are the 2023 Ontario Premier's Award nominee, and you've been recognized by the Ontario Legislative Assembly. And you did an incredible TED Talk recently. And
Tall poppy syndrome.
Tall poppy syndrome. Yeah, no kidding. Just small amounts of accomplishments. I'm being sarcastic. But really, what I'm most interested in is the fact that you took a crisis, a very strong crisis. And so just for folks who haven't seen, although I'm sure many have, but just do sort of a summary of what happened, what was your crisis, and what and it took you down, but then you've made beautiful miracles from it.
Yeah, no, I think now I can look at it in hindsight as
now you can
now,
yeah,
as this beautiful experience that has led to so many wonderful things. But in that moment, it was very difficult. So in 2018, I owned and operated a business in Toronto.
Right.
I was an entrepreneur, and I
paddleboarding.
Yeah, I owned and operated, I instructed, I was a coach, and I did lessons and rentals and built that business up.
Did you love that business?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. What I loved most about it was connecting with different people.
Right.
Some of the people, are still on my social media. I've watched them go from first dates with me, with each other, but with
right.
I'm hosting it.
Yeah.
And now these people, some of them are married, have kids.
Wow.
So it's been really
So
beautiful to connect with.
You're a connector.
Different. I love connecting with. I love people. I love talking with people and studying people and watching and
sociologist.
I'm curious.
Yeah. I love that quality.
I love that quality in a person. Yeah, no, I think being curious is want to learn about things and people.
Yeah.
And
open-hearted, open-minded. Yeah.
And the more curious you are, the more we learn.
The more you learn. So you had this crisis occur. What was it? What's it called? I want you to say it.
So I had a neurological disorder called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. Yep. It's a reactivation of the chickenpox virus.
Right.
Has shingles. Shingles is typically brought on by extreme stress.
Right.
For me, I was overworked, and I didn't address it until it was too late.
Right.
And yeah, so
you got misdiagnosed over and over.
So it happened, and it can either, RHS or Ramsay-Hunt syndrome can either hit your eye or your ear. That's how it's classified. It's either shingles or it's that, if it's in one of those areas.
Right.
And one of those areas, it affects different parts of your body.
Right.
So for me, it affected my vestibular system.
Yeah.
So auditory, vision, mobility.
Also our learning center, the vestibular system, is it not?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I was sent for an MRI in the early days to rule out brain damage, and jury's still out on that.
I don't think you're brain damaged. You obviously have recovered beautifully.
I think I've done okay with
Yeah.
recovery. It's taken, you know, 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think I would say I'm functioning, you know, it's a chronic condition. It affects me every day.
Yeah.
But before
Wow.
I couldn't walk from that side of the room to that side of the
Yeah,
room
without
holding on to somebody. So
wow.
so now,
How did you, in those moments where you're like, you know, you're this fit young guy and you lose balance, you lose the ability to have simple balance. What did that do to your mind?
yeah, so, and really what it did was it isolated me because it put me
Right.
on my own, and it cut me off from the ability to work. It cut me off from being social and having social interactions with other people. It cut me off from my independence
Oh my
to go
gosh.
out and, you know, go watch a movie or go have
Yeah.
a coffee or go for a walk. So ultimately,
It
you know,
transformed everything in a
it
moment.
changed everything within a few days. And then we just had to navigate through that to
Jeez.
find a new normal.
But that took time, I
It took
imagine.
time, no.
And grieving, I imagine.
Grieving a planned life
Right.
lost.
Right. Like just
And
struck you down and suddenly everything's different.
yeah, no, I think, you know, whenever we go through a life change, it causes us emotional and psychological stress. This was a life changes all over the place.
In all aspects,
In all aspects. So in many ways, I was having an identity crisis because I didn't
Right.
recognize who I was seeing back in the mirror every day.
Right.
And psychologically, it just it was very hard to work through that. And
I met you at a speaking competition, the
You
Speaker
did?
Slam, and you were incredibly impactful. No, you're very talented, but it was like this amazing, incredible, beautiful capturing of, I saw it as tragedy meets triumph meets terrified meets, you know, overcoming. And you know, and you are so eloquent in the way you speak about it, but going through these things, like to actually fucking, excuse my language, go through it
Yeah.
is, we can
Yeah.
swear on the internet. Yeah, exactly. I love it. But you know, to go through it is not simple. It's not easy.
No,
And it takes such a mammoth effort.
there's so many different layers to different parts of that, and different parts of whatever we're experiencing.
Right.
So no, I think now, you know, speaking about it and writing about it,
Is that helping?
of course,
Yeah.
it's cathartic in many ways. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a mental health educator last week, and he said we were at lunch, and he said, you know, I think mental health educators should get paid more because we have to relive it every time we get on stage. Like we have to go through it.
Yeah.
So I think we have to charge more because
And the body is going through it again and again. Yeah.
And technically, yeah, we do go through the story at some point, if we're talking about that. But no, I think, you know, getting on stage or sharing, you know, with a room is it's empowering. It's a cathartic release, and it's healing every single time.
Okay.
But it also does, it brings you back. And I think when you're an introvert,
Which you are.
Yeah, what are you?
I'm a combo. I'm an extrovert introvert. I think I'm fine to, but I crave the solo time.
Yeah.
But then if it's too much solo time, I get down.
Right.
And I miss people.
Right.
You know, how about you?
For me, I'm an introvert. So
Okay.
I love being around people, but I go into an event and I use all my energy
And
and then
you're
I'm
exhausted,
done.
right?
So
Oh,
so
yeah.
I go home and I just crash.
Wow.
And I'm fine the next day.
Okay.
But it's kind of like, an extrovert wakes up and they feel empty and then they go through the day and the more people that
That's right.
that
That's right.
they latch onto, it fills them
Feeds
up.
them.
I'm the opposite.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
by the end of the night, I'm like, boom.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, so
So
yeah.
this has been because you've not only done the film, but you did the massive Great Lakes
Mm,
crossing, which took so I'm amazed you didn't, I don't know, re-injure in some way.
mm,
You know, you were able to calibrate through it and do it and focus and
yeah.
make it happen. And tell me something about what you think one of the most important ways for people to overcome fear. As a psychotherapist, what I
Mm,
see is that people, we humans, we keep telling ourselves often when people suffer from anxiety or depression or trauma or
mm,
whatever, a fear story, and it can really, that fear message, fear message, fear message. And unless we have some methodology to combat that,
yeah.
it can absolutely take us down. What's your method?
Taking the first uncomfortable step.
Okay, so do action,
Action.
action,
Yeah. So
and then realizing I'm not going to die from this
yeah.
uncomfortability.
Yeah. Um, it's painful, it's uncomfortable, it might make you cry, but it's gonna give you a lot of confidence.
Right.
And that that's how confidence is built. So when we step into something new and something that we fear,
Yeah.
um, we build confidence by doing that.
So the
And
first
then
tool,
you take that confidence and it allows you to go the next.
so the first tool in the toolbox of not buying into the fear story is action in your
Absolutely.
mind. Yes.
Absolutely.
I totally concur and see that as, but what do you say to the person who's like, I'm too fucking scared to take the first step? Is there something that you and I can impart to them?
So I spoke about this the other week about positive affirmations and
Yes.
self-talk. I'm not one to, and I said this in a room full of personal support workers. I said I am not the person to have rocks that says love me and happy
Right.
and blah blah. But I do talk to myself.
Good.
I
Do you have a favorite affirmation?
no, I just use positive words,
Yeah.
positive language.
Like what? I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
am powerful. I'm unstoppable.
There you go. So those are your favorites.
Yeah.
Those are your favorites. I am powerful. I am. Yeah.
I am is such a powerful
That's right.
statement.
That's right.
And I'm repeating these words
Yes.
and just building yourself up so that when the time comes to make that step into something that we are afraid of.
So it's like being your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Because if you're not going to be your own cheerleader, why would anybody else?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be your own cheerleader, why would anybody else? That's what he just said. And we want to hear tool number 2, be your own cheerleader.
Your own cheerleader.
Yeah, because that is the essential piece. And biochemically, it'll also assist.
Absolutely.
It'll also assist.
Yeah.
And what about when you face your demons, like in the movie? You're facing that, you're crossing the great, you're at night, he crossed stand-up paddleboarding. My God, incredible. That's incredible. I know it's incredible. I mean, you don't boast about it, but I know that it's a freaking incredible.
The best.
It's a feat. It's a feat. It's an incredible feat. And so when you were in the middle of, because people are really confronting so much difficulty with their mental emotional state of being, especially since the pandemic, and during the pandemic, but post-pandemic still I see this
Absolutely.
is incredibly challenging still. And they're facing their the dark nights of the soul, they're facing their shadow self, and they're like, why bother? Why the hell bother? Any ideas to give people that are in the why bother mode? I mean, I always do it because as a therapist, that's what I'm doing. I'm telling people why bother. What are your thoughts on why bother?
Why bother? Because why stay where you are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that helping? Is
Right.
that going to make life better? Is that going to change things?
Yes.
So you kind of have either two options. You stay where you are, well, three really. Stay where you are, go to a place that's worse, or go to a place that's better.
Yeah.
So
Shawshank Redemption, the best line in the
amazing.
world.
Amazing.
Get busy living
Yeah.
or get busy dying. And what you're saying is get busy living
Absolutely.
and doing it. Does it help
It's very
that?
sad that tree's gone.
Oh,
They took it down.
really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to
Yeah,
hear
it's
that.
a great tree.
Yeah.
Great movie. If you watch Shawshank, if you're having, it's a great film.
It's a game changer in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
I've memorized so many
Yeah.
words. It's hard to watch. It's not an easy thing to watch, but it is. It to me, Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, The Shawshank Redemption, The Life and Times of Mike Shoreman, losing everything and then literally rebuilding. These to me, I think that the reason, I'm so happy to have you here is because people need to know the story of people who have, almost lost it all, or actually lost it all in the case of many, all these stories, losing it all, but finding some redemption, and it's not silver lining, it's some actual, redemption through it all.
Yeah.
And that's what you have, I think, have done in many real
you.
ways. Do you think this journey has you ready for, like, when you think about this, what's it preparing you for, do you think? Is it preparing you for different and more? Or
Yeah,
'cause you're writing a book.
there is a book.
What's your book called?
Called Coming Ashore.
Coming Ashore. When's it coming out?
Coming out in October 10th.
October 10th.
It's on pre-order right now.
Oh, it's on pre-order, folks. Is it pre-order where, like Amazon?
We have a direct order
Okay.
link before all the Amazon and the stores.
Okay.
So these will be the first kind of wave, and they're signed copies before it gets to the point where
How's it been writing? Because I've written
it's
not easy.
It's a process.
Yeah.
And this is interesting because it covers historical dates. It covers people in Canada of historical significance.
Yeah.
It covers medical information
Right.
and statistics and data.
Yeah.
So to compile all of that into an odyssey
Yeah.
between the book cover and the last page,
Yeah.
it's a process. But I wanted to, people were like, oh, why didn't you have the book? Like, why weren't you journaling every day throughout the entire process and having everything ready for boom and
it's not that calculated.
No, and I think I wanted to have time to process and to really look at the lessons that were attached to each part.
Give me a lesson. What's a lesson you had from it all?
The power of teamwork, the power of community.
Toolbox number 3, the power of community.
Connection. And
because reaching the movie, which, by the way, do yourself a favor and watch it, find a way to watch it, because it's like it just struck me at how when you ask for help, there's a chance you're going to get a no, but there's a chance you're going to get a yes. And people generally want to help.
Generally, people want to feel good about themselves. How good do you feel when you've helped somebody else?
Exactly.
You go, oh, that was because of me.
Yeah, exactly. It's an
internal joy thing.
Serotonin booster.
Of I helped this person on this part of their journey.
Right.
And it's kind of like a gift that we all have the power to do.
Yeah. And it becomes this incredible exchange of energy that
Mm.
I say to people all the time. You are part of every single human that lives on this planet.
Mhm.
And when you put beauty into the world,
Mm.
even if you don't think you're having an impact,
Yeah.
your energy,
Yeah.
domino effect.
Yeah.
And so when people say, well, what, why I'm little old me, why am I even going to do anything? It doesn't matter. Even putting some help for some other
Yeah.
person, some beauty into the planet, something that you're contributing that has an impact.
Yeah.
That's what I see for
Yeah.
you.
No, why, one of my team members, he's extremely talented and gifted in human compassion and empathy. And I would say if you were to line me up next to him,
Yeah.
I would come in at an 80, 85%.
Yeah.
He's like off the charts. He's 100, boom.
Wow.
He was the guy who was leaning off the side of the boat, talking to me
Yeah.
in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
keeping me awake, supporting me,
Amazing,
talking
man.
me through the pain, when I wanted to give up. If we had reversed those roles, it wouldn't have worked because that's his gift.
Yeah.
That's what he puts out into the world. My gift is that I can see other people's gifts pretty easily.
That's right.
And I can identify it.
Right.
So
Right.
I know who needs to go where,
Yeah.
and in what role, and where they shine.
Yeah.
So no, it's just been an interesting process to kind of figure all of that out and to really see where others flourish.
Would you say that you are one of the things I see people struggle with is sometimes they come from backgrounds in which they do a lot of empathy and compassion for other people, but they forget about themselves. A lot of pleasing other people, a lot of perfectionism, a lot of outward giving, but forgetting themselves. Can you relate?
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of that during the pandemic. I think a lot of people in the very early stages were trying to help and support as many people as they could.
Man.
And a lot of people burned out because they weren't taking care of themselves.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But no, absolutely. We only have so much within the tank, and every time, it depletes. So taking care of ourselves is, self-care.
I mean, people say self-care.
Yeah.
But
I'm not talking about watching Netflix because that's not self-care.
No. Yeah. No. I mean, it might be a bit of self-care, but
it's relaxation.
Yeah, exactly. But true self-care comes, I think, in the form of personalized knowing what you specifically need yourself, what you specifically are in need of yourself. And that might be, food, downtime, exercise, walking. That might be cuddles and hugs. And if you don't have people rest, exactly. If you don't have people that you can do that with, you gotta reach out and ask. As hard as that is, you got to do that. You're associated with an organization called jack.org, which is about mental health for young people. Is that right?
Correct.
And what would you say in your travels have you discovered since the pandemic or during the pandemic or before, whatever you want, at whatever context you want to address, is the biggest challenge for young people? I'm a therapist that works with adults, not young people, but I mean, a lot of my clients have kids and so who are struggling in many ways. What do they tell me? Yeah. Connection. Okay. So a lot of isolation is what needs to be healed.
Absolutely.
Right.
So kids, young people.
Yeah. Teenagers. Yeah.
Would, if you go onto a college campus.
Yeah.
They're going to the cafeteria, grabbing their food and going back to their
room.
They're not eating it in the cafeteria.
Which they used to.
No, they want to go back to their rooms and get on their technology and be with their friends that way. And play video games and communicate with 10 friends and eat their food.
Which, by the way, I don't think is not bad. We don't want to vilify that at all. No, right.
But when you're doing that all the time and losing the human connection,
right.
And many would rather do online courses than
Yeah.
doing in classroom. And you're
Do you think people
losing
still are preferring online courses?
a lot of people prefer online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
God,
Mhm.
I can't even
Yeah,
tell
'cause
you,
they don't have to, they don't have to
get up,
they don't have to get up.
get
They don't,
dressed,
or yeah, they don't
get
have
on
to
the
get dressed.
road.
They can watch a recording if
Yeah.
they miss it. Yeah,
Now, I got to tell you,
yeah,
just on that point, people, I went from a completely live therapy practice. I've
yeah,
been doing this 3 decades, but I'm literally on March 13th of 2020. I went from live and in person
yeah,
to remote,
yeah.
and beautiful transformation because
Mm.
I get to work with people all over. But just this past month, I started to see people in the office, a few people. Um, Ooh, excuse me. And I really have found it to be really kind of mind blowing.
Mm.
It's another energy.
Yeah.
I do, a lot of really effective work online, but
Mm.
I have found it to be quite a beautiful like just to do both is
Yeah.
really amazing. But
Yeah.
kids today, what you're saying is kids today.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm saying,
And it's not just kids.
no,
I think
too.
it's
Like
adults.
just like
We're
I don't want to get a
missing.
car. I don't want to,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No,
But
the
there's an
TED
impact.
the TED Talk
Oh yes, beautiful.
about
Check out his TED Talk.
is
It's just
about
magnificent.
support systems.
Yeah, such a good one.
And how each person needs a support
Yeah.
system, and we talk about the your four method, and if you
Yeah.
if you're talking about Jane at George Brown or George Brown College, who's in her dorm, and or you're talking about Joe in Victoria, BC,
Yeah.
and he's got an office job. It doesn't matter at what stage in your life people are feeling disconnected
Right.
and isolated.
Yeah.
And it's a
And they don't have to give up their TikTok.
They don't have to
People
give up
love
TikTok.
people love their
I don't
social
have a TikTok.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
their Instagram, their TikTok,
Yeah.
their Facebook, their
Yeah.
whatever it is. You don't have to give that up, but in real life,
Yeah.
IRL in real life
Yeah.
is something people are just not as versed in or as
No.
easy to come by anymore. And it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
And therefore, what you're saying is action.
Yeah.
And comfortability is not going to kill you.
No.
It's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah.
What about to the person who's like, nah, I'm not reaching out. I've got enough right here on my tablet or on my phone. What can we say to them? What should we say to them?
Try it.
Give it a try. Yeah.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
What's
don't be closed-minded.
What's the worst that can happen?
I'll hate it.
I'll hate
And
it.
you're
Then
like,
you go back to what you were doing before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So give it a try. Another piece in the toolbox. Try it. Be open-minded.
Yeah.
Be curious. I can't believe we just did that. Yeah. We didn't even plan that.
Yeah.
Be curious.
Curious.
And I just interviewed a gentleman who wrote the book Lit, Jeff Karp, who says that curiosity is one of the biggest mind ignition tools to keep your mind awake and lit up. And curiosity fuels absolute amazing transformation.
Absolutely. My favorite TV show is Jeopardy because I like to learn things all the time.
I love that you. That's
I know I'm such a but no, I would say I get half of them wrong, but
yeah, they're hard. They're hard.
Not if it's Celebrity Jeopardy. Those are really easy. They go easy on those celebrities, but I learn things every time I watch it. And
so you're saying learning, being curious, being new at something.
Yeah, be curious to to try new things, and to learn things. And if you're being curious about putting on the phone and stepping into a situation that allows us to connect with other people.
Yeah.
You're becoming curious about it, and who knows where that will take you.
And I like to say, how do you feel about this statement? Do what lights you up.
Mm-hmm.
Do what lights you up.
Absolutely.
So that you can create more of an engagement with life that is sparky and do new. I'm going to shut this little fan off here because I'm getting a little chilled. But I will say to you that you were this guy who had an entrepreneurial has an entrepreneurial spirit, you have your business and then you have no business, and you are without any, I imagine, income at the time with all of this that went down. How did you not panic and lose your mind? Like, or did you panic and
Oh
lose your
no,
mind?
at different parts I did. Yeah, no, there was significant, no, there was,
The support system you had, your parents.
I had support system with my parents,
Yeah.
but my support system that I had went from this to this, and
So,
it just became my parents.
wow.
So ultimately, I closed myself off from all the other people in my life,
Why?
because I didn't want to be a burden on anybody. There was a lot of shame, there was a lot of guilt,
Wow.
there was a lot of
What were you saying to
issues
yourself?
with, I was also dealing with a facial nerve collapse.
So that piece.
That was a very traumatic event. I felt a lot of shame
What was
and
the shame story?
telling myself that I'm not worthy and that I'm not
So this really hit at your core.
absolutely I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not
Like the why me,
yeah,
the why me
there was a
thing.
lot of
Yeah.
and it was just a shattering of confidence that had been there to nothing. And I needed to go through that to rebuild it.
I'm so
Yeah.
moved by this
Hmm.
because I really am. I really am moved by this because you have so many people who go through the shattering of the self.
Mhm.
Uh, people call it the dark night of the soul. They call it a variety of things. And I hope you realize how much of an impact you have. Like, I know you must know this, or at some level, do you not know it and think I need to do it more and more and more so that I know it? Because I hope you know it. You know it.
No, I think I've been very fortunate in the experiences and the opportunities that have come, and it's created so many things that are in the present that are being worked on. No, I think I do struggle with that some days still.
The knowing that I'm
The
making an
the
impact.
knowing.
Right. Yeah.
I see it. A couple of years ago, I wrote an article for the Toronto Sun on suicide prevention.
Right.
I remember at the time there was a person close to me who had access to that article before it was published and before it went to print. And the person said, "Don't do this. Don't. There's stigma and there's shame with mental health, and that's what the article was about." And I said, "No, I'm gonna do that."
Wow.
And that was 4 years
So
ago.
courage.
And that was 4 years ago. And this year, I'm the opening keynote speaker at the 34th Annual National Suicide Prevention Conference. So
Wow.
and that person today is glad that I did that article
Yeah.
because of where they went mentally during the pandemic.
Yeah.
They had their own experience.
So
Um so no, I see, with the elevation and with what's happened, I do see impact being made, and ultimately change when I go into a business or an organization,
yeah.
and I do a workshop or a presentation, and I come out, I feel, because I'm an introvert, I feel exhausted, but I feel,
Right.
but I
You feel
feel,
like you're on purpose.
but I
You feel
feel, I feel like I've done something good.
and do you feel like you're in your life purpose?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing is that you have looked down the barrel of suicidal thoughts,
Mm.
and it sounds like you confronted it, like you looked at it. You didn't just
Yeah.
look away, you looked at it, which is what I feel. There's this interesting statistic. I have no idea if it's actually true, but it seems to work that if you ask somebody that is expressing suicidal thoughts directly, are you planning on doing this? Are you planning on actually committing suicide? That there's a good chance that a much higher chance that they will not, because you're actually shining a light on the monster.
Okay.
I do that as as a therapist, if I'm detecting it, very directly. So are you actually planning this? Do you think that that was one of the things for you, that you just confronted it? You shined the light on it and you said, I'm not going to go away from this. I am going to look at this directly.
Yeah, I think
Is that another tool?
Yeah, I think on the other side of my own experience, I realized that I didn't want other people to ever be in that situation. And
Wow.
I realized that there were learning lessons and tools from this whole experience
That you
that
wouldn't have learned had you not gone through
yeah,
this. Yeah.
that were of value, and that could help different people or businesses or organizations
Where
and
do you speak
and
generally when you do these? Like who's wanting this information in their organization, or is that everybody?
so it varies. There's a lot in healthcare.
Okay.
So that's great because I love working with you know healthcare professionals,
Who are
PSWs,
burning out
nurses,
and
doctors.
yeah,
Yeah. Speaking about burnout,
yeah.
that's really interesting, and I like talking about it. That kind of lights me up.
Nice.
I also love working with businesses
Yeah.
and
Corporations.
working with teams.
Yeah.
Using the story of the Great Lakes Crossings and my support system, my 4-to-1 structure,
Yeah.
and how everybody needs a support system.
Yeah.
Um,
Are the corporations taking it on? I mean, because they talk a good game. You
mhm.
know, Bell, let's talk. They talk a good game. Do you find there's follow through? Do you find there's actually like actual really caring about the employees
No, I think
more and more?
I think as the conversation as we move the needle forward,
Yes.
there's more of a focus on it. There's more of a pressure for them to do it.
Okay.
Yes, it might be mandated, but um, heads of people and culture for any organization.
So it's not just lip
Um,
service.
no,
Good.
I think there no people want their organizations to be healthy, and that's how they
And
succeed.
it's better for
That's
their
how
bottom line.
and that's how yeah
But bottom
that's
line.
how they succeed in creating healthy healthy cultures
Yeah.
and healthy teams
Right.
that produce.
And a
Um,
healthy employee
yeah,
will produce more,
yeah,
will do better
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
organization.
And it's going to save them money and retaining them rather than them leaving and having to train somebody else to bring them in. So
To me, that speaks to this notion of conscious leadership.
yeah,
Being a conscious leader, being a leader who actually consciously understands that the human experience is going on in each and every employee.
absolutely.
This is not, they're not just cogs in a wheel. They're not just drones. They're not just raw, they're humans. And sometimes, I work with not sometimes, I work with people from C-suite on down.
Mm.
And I have to say, I would like to shake a few leaders and I would like to shake a few leaders hard to go, wake the F up. This is a human being.
Yeah.
You burn them out, you'll
Yeah.
lose them.
Yeah.
It'll cost you money.
Yeah.
Wake up, be
Absolutely.
a conscious leader, be a conscious. Do you speak on that when you're at somewhat?
I haven't really touched on that. I will say, and I won't say which company it is.
Yeah.
But I recently did some work with a company, and the person who brought me in said that it was an arm wrestle with with leadership to do that presentation for their teams because that person didn't believe in this, but they ultimately moved
The needle.
move forward. But I found that very interesting. So it's
This is the courageous piece of us speaking about it. It's like we can be all fabulous about divineness and great community and good this and that and support, but look at leaders, you need to be conscious. You need to understand that the energy travels from you down.
Yeah.
And if you're conscious and awake and wanting to take mental health as an important part of your success model, you will impact so many people.
Absolutely.
The domino effect, the families, your employees, the groups, the teams, everybody.
Yeah. Look at the you can look at companies like Shopify.
Right.
Shopify's placed a huge importance on mental wellness
Beautiful.
for their teams.
Yeah.
And you can look up the success stories,
Yeah.
like of
There's
who's
statistics about it. Yeah.
absolutely, and you can look at their stocks, look at how they're
They're
performing
doing
as a
so
as,
well.
as a
Exactly.
as a company.
Exactly. Right.
They're doing something right. So
Yeah.
what are they doing? They're taking care of their own.
That's right.
And when you take care of your own,
Beautiful things happen.
you build this family unit,
Yeah.
and you build a culture of people wanting to support and
Yeah.
show up and to
You take care of
produce.
one person's mental health, you affect on average 10 people.
Absolutely.
So I mean, and those people affect 10 people. So
Absolutely.
it's
a ripple
it's a
effect.
massive ripple effect.
Yeah.
And so anyone who doesn't buy into it, who's in a position of leadership, I would challenge you to really, really shift it. And to me, anyone who's not getting it, it's simply because of shame.
Yeah.
It's simply because of stigma.
Yeah.
And we got to continue to dismantle that, which you're doing such incredible work toward that.
Thank you.
And I, as a therapist, I want to salute you and acknowledge you and tell you how important it is that you know that you are really impacting people on a beautiful, important level.
Thank you. No, I think anybody who speaks on resilience and
Grit.
Yes.
And
mental wellness and health,
yes,
and all of these these topics,
yes,
it's important. It changes the narrative, it advances the conversation, it creates a space for change, and it allows others to shift their own perspectives on what has been to what can be.
And it is not short-sighted. People say, "Wow, we don't want to spend money on that. We don't want to spend money on that." It's like, we got enough stuff going on. There's all this other stuff we got to spend money on. Take care of the foundation.
Yeah.
The foundation of the mental, emotional well-being of a human being. And so the journey to me toward a better world, which is really what this is about, in my opinion. My reason for being is to impact the planet in good ways and disrupt multi-generational dysfunctionality and patterning. And it starts with mental, emotional well-being, and to dismantle the shame and the stigma, which is what you're doing, which is what you're really, really doing. One last couple of things I want to just say to you. What would you say is to a leader out there, political or corporate or entrepreneurial, captain of industry leader, old school dude,
my grandfather,
right? That energy, yeah, that kind of, hasn't struggled too much, swept it under the rug, maybe. What would you say to that human being, or what can you help us to say to those people? Because they're the ones with the power to affect change. What's the most important thing? What do we say? We say the money. What do we say? I think
the way to do it is to lay it out, the benefits, and to show what could be as opposed to what is happening.
Right.
And going back to what we spoke about earlier, discussing, just trying something. If it doesn't work,
try it.
Go back to it.
Yeah.
There's no harm, no foul.
Right.
But
give it a chance.
Yeah. Because that, when we give things a chance, that is when change happens.
That's when change happens. Yeah. Beautiful. Tell the people what they want to know about you. Where do they find your book? So it's in pre-order. Tell me about where we find the TED Talk. Tell them about what's next for you. We want them to stay in touch with you. Website. give the people what
Yeah.
they want to know.
Okay. The website is www.mikeshoreman.com.
MikeShoreman.com.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook,
Follow this man.
X, and LinkedIn.
X and
X.
LinkedIn, yes.
And LinkedIn. And I'm happy to connect with anybody on there.
Yeah.
My TEDx talk is on support systems and can be found on YouTube
And it's so good. It's so good.
thank you. The talk can be found on YouTube at TEDx. If you type in TEDx Mike Shoreman, it's there.
Okay.
It's not long. I would say it's on the shorter side.
Oh, but it's really perfectly length. The length is great.
It's I think it's a good, I think, some are 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think 20 minutes is the max for one of those.
Yeah.
Mine comes in, I think, around 11.
That's a sweet spot in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's a sweet spot in my opinion for one of these talks. How can they see your movie?
You can go to SurvivorNet TV right now and
SurvivorNet TV. Okay.
And SurvivorNet TV on Google, and it'll bring you to their platform. And look for When Hope Breaks Through in the daily program.
Slow it down. When Hope Breaks Through.
When Hope Breaks Through.
Oh my gosh, wonderful.
I'm not the hope.
You are the
there's
hope.
it's a thing. It's a thing within the film.
Right.
But it's a beautiful kind of metaphor.
You are hope.
Analogy.
I would say you are hope, I gotta tell you.
Thank you.
Your hope with evidence.
I think we all have hope within us.
No, but
and I think that we all
evidence,
I think we all need hope right now. Now is a time where we need, to
more
be
and
inspired and motivated and have light, because there's a lot of darkness in the world. So we need as much light as possible.
I say hope with evidence because when we have hope with no evidence, like I say hope with evidence because you are such an evidence-based story in my view. You broke down and you came through and you learned lessons and now you're proliferating it. So your hope with evidence, and to me that is the hope that you want to bank on. So that, and I'm not blowing wind up your ass. I'm literally telling you what it is that I feel and true. Any last thoughts before we start our wrap up?
I think what I want to leave people with most is that, we can only do so much on our own.
Right.
When we are connected with the people around us, that is where hope grows.
When we are connected with the people around us, that is where hope grows.
Absolutely. And where we are, it doesn't, when we're talking about community, community is where we are. Yeah. You and me right here, this is community.
Yes, I agree.
Right? We talk about community as in a geographical thing. But community is where you are and the people who are with you. Yeah. And what you are building and achieving in that situation. Yeah. So
that makes me emotional a bit, just this notion of community.
So look at you're in one community at lunchtime, you're in a different one at dinner time. Right. Yeah. Connect with people, build these in the moment, build these. We don't build communities by staying in our silos. Yeah, in our living rooms watching, what is it, Baby Reindeer?
Oh my God.
So, we do it by going out and talking about it with
exactly. And so what you're saying is at each moment, find an opportunity to build a bridge, connect, reach out. I like to walk around and I smile at people. I know people.
You ever have people
think I'm nuts?
Look at you weird?
Yes. Yeah. But I do a lot of smiling at people, and I do a lot of mental thinking as sending a little wave of energy going, may you be well, thinking about you, keep going, and I think that is an example of building a bit of a bridge and a bit more of community.
Absolutely.
Mike Shoreman.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so grateful that you made it up here, that you schlepped your way up here, and that you were willing to be part of this courageous conversation. And, you know, you are an example, in my opinion, of a person who sort of lives the toolbox
Thank you.
that people can watch, look at, and emulate, and keep doing it in your own life, in your own world. Because remember, you work with one human being, you provide hope for one human being, you're actually affecting 10 human beings. So
Absolutely.
that's really great. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right.